movie JFK has all of America asking, what is hidden in the secret assassination file? Now, for the first time anywhere, government documents reveal information locked away for decades. An Inside Edition exclusive. Inside the secret JFK files the government didn't want you to see.
He was convicted of a brutal attack on a young co-ed, but after the trial, he just walked out and began the life of a fugitive.
I wasn't going to go to jail for something I didn't do.
He spent 12 years looking over his shoulder for this man, the Texas cop who swore to hunt him down.
I figured it'd end in a gunfight.
The real-life story of the TV movie A Fugitive Among Us.
Swift is in. Chicago, coming to you first.
Audio check, 1, 2.
There's LA.
For centuries, people have searched for a way to increase their sexual appetite with aphrodisiacs. Today, Mother Nature's answer to how you can improve your sex life.
Stand by.
Hello, I'm Bill O'Reilly. Thank you for watching Inside Edition today. We have a very special broadcast for you, including the story of a man convicted of attempted murder who avoided the law for 12 years. An incredible tale. But first up today, an Inside Edition exclusive, Inside the Sealed JFK Assassination Files. From 1976 to 78, an investigation into the murder of President John F. Kennedy was conducted by a committee from the House of Representatives. The investigation concluded that JFK was probably assassinated as a result of a conspiracy which involved at least 2 gunmen. The files of that investigation were then sealed and locked away until the year 2029. Well, Inside Edition has seen some of those files that were sealed for 50 years, and there are some explosive elements.
It was a coup d'etat, a calculated planned coup d'etat.
We can't see who has been hit, if anybody's been hit, but apparently something is wrong here. Something is terribly wrong.
President Kennedy was killed as a result of a conspiracy.
He was waving back. The shot rang out and he slumped down in the seat.
Lee Harvey Oswald with the gun in the window and firing it.
There was a scene of mass confusion, of course. Trauma room 1 was filled with people.
Did you kill the president?
No, I've not been charged with that.
President Johnson said, I never believed Oswald did this alone.
He's been shot. Oswald died at 1:07 our time.
I know that Lee Harvey Oswald was the lone gunman who killed President Kennedy and Officer Tippit.
The assassination of President John F. Kennedy was the crime of the century, a dramatic moment in history. In a few seconds, America was changed forever. Today, polls show the vast majority of Americans believe the assassination was a conspiracy, and that the official story, that Lee Harvey Oswald was a lone crazed assassin, is a lie. Although it is part fact and part fiction, the Oliver Stone movie JFK has fueled belief in a conspiracy, and powerful voices, including those in the Kennedy family, are now demanding the release of the secret files on JFK. Inside Edition has gained access to some of the most explosive secret JFK files and is now able to report exclusively on their contents.
The Select Committee on Assassinations will at this time come to order.
The most damaging sealed documents of the House Select Committee on Assassinations accuse high-ranking officials of the Central Intelligence Agency of lying to the people of the United States about Lee Harvey Oswald. House investigators believe this man, David Atlee Phillips, met with Oswald 2 months before the assassination. Phillips was the CIA's chief of Western Hemisphere operations and was in charge, among other things, of plots against Fidel Castro. According to the secret reports, Antonio Viciana, a leader of anti-Castro Cubans directed by the CIA, saw Oswald talking to a senior CIA agent he knew by the cover name Maurice Bishop. Viciana provided enough information for House investigators to compile this sketch of the agent who met Oswald. Could it have been Phillips? Investigators believe it was. Phillips denied under oath that he knew Oswald, but House investigators did not believe him and wanted him charged with perjury. The government declined to prosecute, leaving investigators furious. The director of the CIA in 1963 was John McCone. He caused a sensation among committee staffers when he admitted there was an agent using the cover name Bishop. But a secret memo reveals he was allowed to reverse his testimony. A CIA lawyer wrote the committee, "I should inform you that he had been in error." In summary, Mr. McCone withdraws his statements on this point. The man who fingered Maurice Bishop, Antonio Viciana, was shot in the head soon after testifying, but survived. Frightened, he will no longer talk about the case. We caught up with him in Florida.
They wounded me in the head. He's trying to kill me.
You know why? Why would anybody?
I don't know, perhaps the FBI knows. The FBI knows.
Did they tell you?
No. Ask them.
David Atlee Phillips died of cancer in 1988. Investigators believe Phillips was angry at JFK for botching the Cuban Bay of Pigs operation.
Did you kill the president?
The second explosive revelation in the sealed document also links the CIA directly to Oswald. While living in Dallas, Oswald was befriended by Russian-born George de Mohrenschildt. Investigators determined he was a contract agent for the CIA in Central America and the Caribbean. In 1977, moments before he was to be interviewed by House investigators, de Mohrenschildt blew his brains out with a 20-gauge shotgun. House investigators believe he was a crucial link between the CIA and Lee Harvey Oswald.
There is no question that the sealed JFK files are extremely embarrassing for the CIA. House investigators have told Inside Edition that the agency did not fully cooperate in their investigation and that the CIA had final say in the report that the House Assassinations Committee made public. Thus, the public report makes no mention of the CIA's links with Lee Harvey Oswald. But the secret documents are another story.
Another bombshell in the secret files concludes that Lee Harvey Oswald had mentioned his plans to kill JFK to at least 2 other men several weeks before the assassination. In sworn testimony, a woman named Sylvia Odio, who was an active fundraiser for anti-Castro groups, said she received a visit from 3 men, one of whom was introduced as Leon Oswald. The next day, one of the other men told her Oswald thought that JFK should be killed. Now a grandmother, Sylvia Odio, says the incident has haunted her. She has never before faced the camera.
Sylvia, are you absolutely positively certain it was Lee Harvey Oswald who came to your door 2 months before the assassination?
I am absolutely convinced that it was.
No doubt in your mind?
No, no doubt at all.
Sylvia, how did you feel when you saw a couple of months later that Lee Harvey Oswald was arrested for killing JFK?
Both my sister Annie, who had opened the door originally, and myself were totally horrified. We just started crying. Oswald was never alone. Oswald had people with him 2 months prior to the assassination.
Sylvia Odio reluctantly told her story to the Warren Commission, but she was not believed. However, House investigators do believe her. They discovered Sylvia had told her story to a doctor before the assassination, and they examined his notes. The investigators' report in the secret files concludes Oswald told other people of his desire to kill President Kennedy.
Are you afraid now telling us this story?
Yes, really and truly. I don't want to be here today, and I don't want to tell you my story today.
One interesting sidelight, the movie JFK was partially based on Jim Garrison's investigation in New Orleans. Well, House investigators uncovered evidence that the CIA planted 9 agents inside the Garrison investigation to feed him false information and to report back to Langley on what Garrison was finding out. Much more to come as Inside Edition moves along today. A fugitive wanted for attempted murder eludes police for 12 years.
I just didn't care anymore. I figured if they get me, they get me. You know, I've got nothing to lose now.
So I took it upon myself to be Miller's self-appointed hunter.
He was convicted of brutally attacking a young woman, but he escaped and ran from the law for 12 years. His story is so amazing, it was made into last night's TV movie. But we have the facts. Scott Rappaport with our story.
That woman picked you out, Cal. Identified you twice. Well, she's twice wrong.
And when the wrong man was convicted of brutally shooting a young co-ed, he became a fugitive on the run rather than living out his days behind bars. It happened in the TV movie Fugitive Among Us, and it happened in real life. And just like in the movies, there was one man who wanted to catch this fugitive more than anything else.
Every time I see a police car, I turn the other way.
I want the man caught.
You finally get to where you just don't care anymore.
Somebody needs to get this guy.
It began on June 10, 1974 in Fort Worth, Texas. Janelle Kirby, a Texas Christian University co-ed, was home alone when she was brutally attacked by a stranger who was trying to rob and rape her. During the struggle, the attacker's gun went off 5 times, hitting Janelle in the head and face. Miraculously, she survived, and from police photos identified this man, Kenneth Leslie Miller, a Vietnam veteran who'd had a minor brush with the law before, as her attacker. 6 months later, a jury convicted Kenneth Miller of attempted murder.
Thinking, I don't believe this. And I had never seen her before in my life.
And Miller could not see himself behind bars for a crime he did not commit. So after hearing the verdict, unbelievably, he just left the courtroom.
I wasn't going to go to jail for something I didn't do. I walked out the door, got on the stairways, I just kept my calm, and as I'm going down, there's 4 or 5 big deputies running up the stairs going to look for me, and they bump right into me, and I was just rude to them. I said, well, excuse you, and it threw them off guard, and they keep going right on up the stairs.
The court handed down a 70-year sentence, but Miller wasn't around to hear it. He fled Fort Worth with his lawyer's secretary, settled in Las Vegas, and married her. Meanwhile, a brash young Fort Worth cop named Leonard Schilling, with a reputation as a renegade, was obsessed with capturing Miller.
I wanted Miller bad. You know, I wanted to catch that guy.
As head of the local Crime Stoppers program, Schilling had put Miller's name and face at the top of his most wanted list. But in Nevada, Miller was using a new identity to rebuild his life. He had good jobs, owned a home, and kept to himself. Yet he always felt the pressure of the pursuit.
You just take it day to day. You stay scared and you stay smart, or you try to.
And he was so scared, he broke all ties to his past.
They caused me to be very paranoid all the time. When my father got sick, I couldn't even see him. I couldn't call back here. I wasn't going to risk a trace. My mother got sick. She needed money. I couldn't even send money out here.
I thought, now here's a weak link. I knew someone knew where Miller was. I also found out that when his mother had passed away, that he didn't show up at the funeral. Okay, I mean, you know, I got to that point where I was keeping tabs through his friends.
Even your friends, if they find out who you are, they'll turn you in.
The stress of hiding from the law for 12 years had taken its toll on the fugitive. Miller and his wife divorced. He lost everything and turned to alcohol for comfort. And finally, in the summer of 1986, Schilling, the hunter, and Miller, his prey, were fast approaching the final showdown.
I felt like something was going to come to an end here.
I figured it'd end in a gunfight.
But before the bullets could fly, Detective Schilling got a break. Miller was picked up in Vegas on a shoplifting charge. Police fingered him as the fugitive wanted back in Fort Worth.
Oh, I was just excited. It was better than Christmas. I'd done the impossible. You know.
But as Schilling celebrated his victory, he got an anonymous call which turned the case upside down.
My mind began to run about 900 miles an hour thinking, whoa, Schilling, what the hell is going on here?
The caller told Detective Schilling he had hunted down the wrong man, that the vicious shooting of Janelle Kirby was actually done by a man named William Ted Wilhoit.
When you hear it's not Miller, it's Wilhoit, what are you thinking?
In my mind, Miller's still the guy. But what this man told me bared looking into.
Wilhoit was already in prison serving 12 years for the rape of another woman. And sure enough, when confronted, he confessed to the shooting of Janelle Kirby, providing police with details that only the attacker would know.
It was right on the money. Everything. Every single detail.
Meanwhile, Kenneth Miller sat in a Las Vegas jail, unaware of Will Hoyt's confession. But the man who had pursued him for a dozen years made it a point to be there when his target was finally given freedom.
I kind of felt good, you know. Well, I did the right thing. I cleared an innocent man.
If there were more police officers like Schilling, things like this, I don't believe would happen.
If this could happen to Miller, it could happen to anybody.
Quite a story, and Kenneth Miller told us that even though he is a free man today, he cannot stop looking over his shoulder to see if a cop is still pursuing him. Coming next, do you believe in aphrodisiacs? Some say they work and can improve your sex life.
Travel arranged through Continental, taking off this winter to 11 sun and fun-filled Florida cities. Continental to Florida. One airline can make a difference.
Well, we have been looking into the topic of sex in the 90s with help from the renowned Masters and Johnson Institute in St. Louis. Today, we investigate that age-old quest to improve sex lives through aphrodisiacs. Bonnie Strauss with our report.
It's an age-old story.
You know, if you think it's going to work, often it will.
Probably people began looking for aphrodisiacs originally because they had their own sense of inadequacy, or something wasn't performing correctly.
And people are still in hot pursuit of a magic potion that will transform their sexual lives. For thousands of years, people have gone to extremes to find the perfect aphrodisiac, the single mood, food, smell, or experience to arouse or increase sexual desire. Today, there seem to be almost as many interpretations of aphrodisiac as there are people who enjoy sex.
For me, I would have to say a good aphrodisiac would be a really good massage.
Whipped cream.
Definitely. I've heard that oysters are an aphrodisiac.
Experts say that all of these things will help stimulate lovemaking if the lovers believe they will. But we wanted to know if there's a particular aphrodisiac that gets high marks across the board. In the Orient, there are many options, herbal and animal. To this day, Chinese herb shops offer a buffet of dry plant and animal parts believed to enhance sexual experience. Western research has not verified their safety or effectiveness. But here you can try everything from deer antler marrow and deer tails to roots, bark, and fungi, not to mention the sex organs of exotic animals. Most of them are chopped up, brewed, and made into teas and potions. According to Dr. Teresa Crenshaw, who's looked into reports of aphrodisiacs around the world, the quest for virility sometimes becomes a public spectacle.
They have a rather barbaric ritual of splitting open the gallbladder of a snake on the sidewalk and having passers-by who are interested in the invigorating potion to come and literally drink it from the live snake.
To better understand the desperation behind these and other pursuits of sexual highs, I went to the Masters and Johnson Institute in St. Louis, Missouri.
Everyone wants the quick fix, the magic, the perfection in a relationship. And they think that these things are going to do these things for them. The outside agents, the extra added, the additives, the chemicals.
Unfortunately, some of these outside agents can be extremely dangerous. Take Spanish fly, for example.
If you take too much of it, it can kill you, and I think that's a rather desperate way to get an erection, through rigor mortis.
Obviously, Spanish fly doesn't have the approval of the U.S. Food and Drug Administration, nor does any product claiming to be an aphrodisiac.
In some cases, people may actually believe the products they're selling do work. But as we discussed before, the science has not been presented to the agency to make that kind of conclusion.
Still, in stores across the country, non-drug items are being touted to put you in the mood. For example, in California, botanicas, which are small shops, promise you sexual rewards. They sell everything from ginseng to what some claim is the hottest aphrodisiac around, yohimbine, which comes from an African tree.
And it does help men who have problems with erections be able to engage in sexual relations. And so if you have that type of a problem, it works. And so some people might consider that an aphrodisiac.
This Jamaican bush doctor believes that some tree bark, roots, and herbs can stimulate passion. But he says one must be cautious because you're playing around with Mother Nature. And he says overstimulation can ultimately weaken the body.
I'd probably tell you, look, everything is all right. Take soursop leaf or trumpet leaf and calm your nerves, and everything is all right.
What people fail to realize that there are many other things that can be used to enhance.
Like?
Probably the best thing that could be used is your own attitude.
And if your attitude leads you to ply your loved one with chocolate this Valentine's Day, hoping for sexual miracles, one expert says, go for it.
It doesn't create a desire where there isn't a desire before. But of course, if you give somebody a gift of chocolates, they might be more interested in having sex with you.
That snake thing shook me up a little bit. A word of caution, experimenting with any items which are not approved by the FDA is very risky. And Inside Edition, we'll be right back. And here's what's upcoming on Inside Edition.
I was a criminal when I met Danielle.
Millions of people love her romance fiction, but the fact is a convict stole Danielle Steele's heart.
I'm her criminal rapist husband.
And he thinks Danielle used him as a model in her stories.
They couldn't keep their hands off of each other.
An incredible chapter in the life of millionaire author Danielle Steele. Inside Passion's Prisoner.
Also tomorrow, we will have another explosive exclusive report for you. This one on the Mike Tyson rape case. We'll show you videotape of Tyson with the alleged victim and other beauty pageant contestants. Should be very interesting. And that is it for us today. Thanks again for watching Inside Edition. I'm Bill O'Reilly. See you tomorrow.
Got it all together on 7. Thanks for being with us.
Oh, diggity dog, diggity, so what you do to me? Oh, me close.